Tomorrow is Election Day in Charleston County, and one of the races to watch is Mount Pleasant Town Council. 8 people are running, including Stephen Becker. I sit down one-on-one with Stephen for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Stephen Becker, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be with you.
I appreciate it greatly. Obviously, you're an entrepreneur. You are heavily involved with mechanics and obviously cars.
Yes, sir.
And now I know that you are actually wanting to become one of the next members of the Mount Pleasant Town Council.
That's correct.
Tell me why Stephen Becker, why now?
Well, I think that, first of all, there's a perfect opportunity because there's a storm that has been involved in the town of Mount Pleasant and the city council as far as where you have inner fighting with the town council. So you have a lot of not anything getting done. You have, one side, be it they don't want to grow the town. You have another side that does want to grow the town efficiently. And we've just got a lot of drama over there. And that's the reason why we have 4 out of the 8 seats up and we have only 1 incumbent, is because they realize that that's it. They've gone about as far as they can go.
Yeah. And how do you grow the town in your mind?
Well, one of the things that they did, the current town council did, which was very unfortunate, was they decided to go ahead and do these business impact fees.
Right.
And they thought by doing business impact fees that was actually going to solve a tremendous growth issue, which it actually did not. It actually worked counterproductive. And now we're not able to take any tax revenue from these different companies that were going to come to town. And we've actually been skipped over. And you and I were talking about Halls and how you did such an awesome interview with the Halls, with the Hall brothers. And we were talking about that. And Halls skipped Mount Pleasant. Taco Boy skipped Mount Pleasant. We've had a tremendous amount of businesses that have come to Mount Pleasant and simply said, it's too hard to deal with you. We're not going to pay these huge impact fees. And we're going to go to another town. But meanwhile, the builders keep building, even with impact fees imposed. So it's one of these situations where I just, that is how you grow the town. A lot of people don't realize that the roads are mainly owned and driven by county, state, and federal.
Right.
Okay, and that's a huge thing because, town of Mount Pleasant Council only has a voice to represent the other people, but if you live in Mount Pleasant and I'm on the town council, you write a letter to the state or the DOT or whatever, and your letter has as much weight and gravity as if I write a letter as a town councilman. And so if that everybody was really ganging up on the town council saying that, 1741, all these different roads that's all been funded and approved. It's every single time that somebody steps in and wants to make a change or whatever, it just continues to push things back and continues to make things slow down.
Well, let me ask you this then. In regards to how the town is doing economically, what letter grade would you give them as far as performance?
I think as far as economically goes, you mean economically as far as how they're handling their money?
Yes,
or
sir.
Economically as far as how they're handling potential money and business coming in?
Oh, yeah.
Because on the impact fee, I'm giving it an F. As a matter of fact, that's one of the very first things, if I'm elected, I would certainly go ahead and draft some type of an ordinance to counter, either do away with the impact fee for businesses or greatly reduce it and curtail it to where it's just a very simple fee. It's not based on volume and all this other stuff that they've got. They've got some kind of secret formula that only one person knows, and if that person gets hit by a bus, we're in trouble because he doesn't share it with anybody. So, but I think as far as how they're handling their money, I give it. I think they've got a B. I think they have a B. And we've got a town that is very quaint and is continuing to grow. We've got a wonderful, in my opinion, we've got a wonderful public safety office. We've got a good police force. We've got good coverage. We've got good first responders. They've got the best equipment. They've got everything that they need as far as that goes. So I don't know, obviously you get these folks that want to do special interest things like go spend $1.5 million on a dock or, go do these different things while they're trying to move the cups around with the ball underneath it. And I think that's in any politics in any town in America. But I really believe that, they probably get a B at this point.
Let me ask you this. You talk about obviously the impact fees,
Mm-hmm.
and if they were greatly reduced,
Right.
how much would the town actually get in?
Well, actually, that has yet to be determined. I know with my dealership, I was bringing a new car dealership there, and I was bringing 80 employees.
Right.
And I was going to be purchasing several acres, and these are very, very high-end, expensive Shelby automobiles, Shelby Cobras and stuff. So these are not the run-of-the-mill cars. It's, and I know that they watched literally tens of millions of dollars walk away from me being able to do that by simply not capturing any of the taxes or anything that goes along with all that. So if you times that times 10, 15, 20, I mean, however many businesses we're talking about with loss, obviously Halls, they do, tens of millions of dollars a year. So if you had a Halls where it should be in Mount Pleasant, they would be generating this, so it's exponentially, it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah. And you talked about this just a tad bit, but what will a more diverse, more modern economy look like if you were on town council?
Well, I think that first of all, we have to have wide open arms for anybody that comes into our town, and that is anybody business wise, that is anybody personal wise, that's any race, color, creed, religion. I mean, we've got to embrace what is going on, because in my personal opinion, we are in a bubble. As far as the town of Mount Pleasant goes. The second thing, and one of the things that I ran on, was the fact that we are no longer a town. We are almost 90,000 people strong, or we're right at 90,000 people. And when you've got that many people, the town, you cannot continue to act like a town fiscally. You cannot continue to act like a town in a town council area and mayorship and whatnot. You have to act like a city. You have to grow up and act like a city, because you are quickly becoming that city, and you're getting left behind as far as procedures and everything go in the way that you're handling the day-to-day business of the town.
Let me fast forward, because single-member districts are a topic in the town.
Oh, I love this. I
Talk to me more about that.
Let me tell you something. I am a huge proponent of small government. I am a huge proponent of letting the voters decide. And I believe that we should have a referendum, that it should be written and approved by the townspeople, and it should be a referendum as to whether or not we have single district, or whether or not we have it open as we currently do, whether or not we have a strong mayor, or whether or not we have it as another basic member of council, which is the way we do now.
Right.
And additionally, I believe that we should have a full-time mayor. 90,000 plus people. I think we need a full-time mayor at this point if we're going to continue to outreach to the different communities and be a significant player. We're the fourth largest town in South Carolina right now. I mean, that's mind-boggling that we have a part-time mayor. So I truly believe in referendums that the voters decide on. I believe that the plastic ban should have had a referendum behind it. I believe that was done behind closed doors in town council, and there was some wrangling going on in this side or the other. And I know that most of the businesses which are directly affected by the plastic ban had no idea that thing even got passed, read, or anything else. They knew about it when they were served notice of the fact that you got a year to get rid of your plastics, you got a year to get rid of the straws, you got a year to do this, this, and this, or you're going to start getting fined. And that time is running up very closely right now. And I can assure you that somebody, I don't know if there's the plastic police or what the heck you're going to call them, but at some point they're going to start going after these different businesses that have a straw on their table, or that have plastic bags, or whatever the case may be. And it's not going to be nice.
You talked earlier about obviously the impact fees, and obviously there's a talk about the town reaching a build-out scenario in the near future.
Yes.
If that would be the case, what economic implications will the town face? And would you vote for tax increases?
I believe that if you were to, first of all, I am dead set against tax increases. And I know you hear that from every single politician, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we had to increase the tax and this, that, and the other. But currently, we've got a $165 million a year budget. It's currently being guided pretty well. I think that this other thing that I went for was this comprehensive plan.
Right.
And this comprehensive plan has been sitting on the desk of town council and the mayor since March. And by law, it's required to be updated every 10 years.
Right.
When do you think that 10 years ends? The end of the year. And will it get passed by then? Probably not. And where it definitely won't get passed by the current town council. It'll fall on me. It'll fall on three other people that get elected to serve. So that is very disconcerting, because that is the ultimate plan. That is the ultimate 10-year snapshot of how Mount Pleasant should look and what it should look like. and and a tremendous amount of citizens have put a lot of work into that. And now it sits there on a table gathering dust, in my opinion, based on everything I see.
You talk about a snapshot. What is your snapshot when it comes to affordable housing in Mount Pleasant?
Well, I've said it before, and my wife said, you got to be careful how you do this one. So I love my wife, been married for 475 years. And here it is. Beverly Hills, affordable housing.
Okay.
You don't hear it. Those two words don't run together. Mount Pleasant, affordable housing, is fading very, very quickly. They have now kind of re-termed it not affordable housing, but they've reachable housing, which is a new word of saying that it's more expensive than anywhere else, but it's still within reach of certain people that can afford to pay the mortgage. And so I think that there was an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity back when everything went to heck in a handbasket in 2008 and 2009. And the town had the opportunity to purchase dirt in various areas of Mount Pleasant for pennies on the dollar. And they failed to do that. They had 5 years to be able to do that, 6 years before the economy started to come back. And you could have bought that land for pennies on the dollar from developers that wanted nothing to do with this area, that held the bank, that held the property. You could have done it with banks that held, that were getting taken back by the FDIC, right, and that lost all this thing. Pennies on the dollar. You could have bought thousands of acres. You could put it into a land trust or a land bank. And then when the economy got better and you needed affordable housing, pull that out and sell it to the right people to be able to purchase homes and be able to put it on there. And that didn't happen. And it befuddles me on how that didn't happen.
In that economic development strategic plan, that is,
yeah,
what part of the plan is something that the town can implement right now?
Well, I think that's a very good question. I'd have to think about that.
Okay.
The one thing I did say at all of the different events that I was at was, where has the audience ever heard the words, you have to pass it to read it? What politician said you have to pass it to read it? Of course, it was part of the Affordable Care Act where Nancy Pelosi said you have to pass it to read it, which was insane. And I'm afraid that we are on the opposite end of that. I don't agree with you have to pass it to read it, but I think you do have to go through it and you have to look at all the different things that are involved in it. And I do believe that the zoning, some of the zoning heights, some of these different things they've got in place, there is compromise. If you don't have compromise, you don't have a relationship going on with anyone or with any town or anything. And I think that there has been no compromise. It's been either a do or die situation. We got lawsuits stacked up against the city like cordwood in the backyard. I mean, it's crazy to think of how this whole thing is running or not running at some point.
What zoning laws would you actually tighten when you get on town council?
Well, I think that probably one of the ones that I would tighten, the one that I would look at the most would have to be some of these taller buildings and where they're put as far as the zoning goes for that. I understand the need for housing. I understand the need to be able to service the people that live here and that work here. But when I drive across the Ravenel Bridge now from Mount Pleasant, all I see on the left are these, huge, and they're very nice buildings, as Donald Trump would say. They're they're huge buildings. They're very nice buildings, but they are very, very high, and they cut off a view, even when you're going up the bridge, of being able to see the harbor and the charm in Charleston. And I think that I think that was a mistake that was made by allowing it to be built up that high, that close to the water, that close to the harbor, where all of our charm sits.
Denser mixed-use development. What areas in Mount Pleasant are actually ideal for that type of development?
None. There is none, in my opinion, with the exception of, I shouldn't say none, with the exception of North Mount Pleasant, which I have now, my wife has now said to me, it needs to be called Uptown Mount Pleasant, because when you're using the word north in some references gets people a little angry. So we are Uptown Mount Pleasant, and we do have plenty of dirt out there. We do have plenty of land headed toward Awendaw. Is it affordable? Given what the current market is, it's probably market priced. I mean, you could probably go in there with some type of a public-private trust and acquire land for the housing and stuff. But I mean, as far as the closer you get in toward the bridge, the closer you get in toward the water and everything, it just doesn't exist. I mean, and and what does exist is going to do nothing but clog the arteries of these little tiny roads that you have no room to be able to expand.
Speaking of which, what has been an exponential growth rate in the town for the past 10 years in your mind?
Meaning?
The growth, exponential growth.
Well, I think that, I moved here 6 years ago from Atlanta. I was originally born and raised in Winter Park, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So Winter Park is a very small town, or what was a small town when I was growing up, just like Mount Pleasant. And we had a lot of the growing pains and the aches and everything to where Winter Park is today. And I think that over the last, since the economy has come back over the last 3 or 4 years, that we have seen a tremendous amount of growth. I mean, maybe double of what we were anticipating and double of what was expected. And what we haven't seen is the roads, being expanded, being widened, being anything as far as that goes. They just keep building more and more homes, more and more houses from permits, everything that were issued prior to 2008.
How many new homes have been built in Mount Pleasant this year?
I can't tell you that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer on that one.
How has residential?
I know they tried to do a system in place where they're limiting the number of permits, which is a good idea as long as the permits are limited and they're not given out on a political basis. They're given out on an as needed basis, which makes the most common sense for the town. Not necessarily what works best for a builder or what works best for a certain town council person or whatever that may be voting on it.
When it comes to residential construction, how has the residential construction dependent impacted the town in your mind?
I think that the residential construction, without the roads and without having these things, getting the cart before the horse, I believe has negatively impacted our quality of life in Mount Pleasant.
Speaking of which, how do you hope that Mount Pleasant will define quality of life in 5-10 years in your mind?
I think that Mount Pleasant would like to remain a town. I think that they would like to remain, the cute town, the small town, have the hometown feel to it and everything, which it does. And there are certain areas that you can go to and feel that very, very much so, the old village and these different areas. But I do believe that, what was the question?
Oh, no.
Get that out of there. Yeah. Holy crap. I talk around myself.
Don't worry. How do you hope the town will define quality of life in 5 to 10 years?
Okay. So I think that it's most apparent that there's more land in the north end.
Sure.
So I think with that being said, I think that you do have a split probably right there at IOP or so, where you can take a left and head into town and head toward a bridge. You have a totally different feel than if you take a right and you hit Home Depot and you hit the new Costco and everything. So I think it's going to be a split of depending on what area you live in as to the way of your quality of life exists. Obviously, the folks that are on Shem Creek are not necessarily huge fans of Costco or Home Depot or anything because they managed to keep them out for so many years. And obviously, the folks that are living near Costco and Home Depot and stuff, such as myself, enjoy the convenience of not having to go to North Charleston in order to go to a Home Depot and that kind of stuff. So the services coming up.
Let me reset and talk about you again,
Okay.
Stephen Becker.
All right.
When you peel off the political hat that you're wearing right now,
Yes.
Who else is Stephen Becker?
Well, I've got 3 children. We've got 2 boys and a girl.
Sure.
Actually, this is very interesting. My 17-year-old son, who's at Wando, who's graduating this year, is actually my campaign manager.
Really?
And so we have roughly 4,000 kids at Wando that are very closely watching this election that otherwise would not be watching this election now. So he has made it his point, and he has come up with some wonderful, wonderful ideas because it's so important to bridge the gap between youth and where we are today as far as a society and a country, as far as politics goes. I am a champion. I'm a soul practitioner. I like to call myself, even though I'm not a doctor. I'm a champion for the underdog. I am definitely business wise and street smart, which is I would rather have street smarts than business wise. And as much as the fact that I think, as you probably can imagine, being street smart is you can have all the information in the book given to you and stuff, but if you don't know how to implement that information, the information doesn't go anywhere but stays in your head. So I'm the consummate entrepreneur. Obviously, I've got a huge target on my back as a new car dealer because I have to wake up every morning and say, what is the government going to do to me today? they're always looking to change things environmentally, or they're always looking to change things building wise, or they're building these different cars that, can now run on their own and everything. And so I always have to think that, and I don't want to have to think about how my town is trying to wiggle its way around me so that I don't come into my town. Do you know how bad I feel about living here and not being able to put a dealership here? But yet I can go over the bridge and in another county and no impact fees, no business license, plenty of roads, plenty of dirt. And we've been married for 25 years. My wife and I, 25 years, been together for 32. So that means we were 21 when we met. And we've got an older daughter who's graduating from FSU. She'll be 22 shortly. And she's actually going to come back here. She actually wants to make Charleston her home. She's a very sought after wedding photographer. Wow. And so, then we've got my 17-year-old, our 17-year-old, and our 13-year-old that goes to Christ our King. Oh, yeah. And he's looking forward to going into high school, and just he's totally non-political, non-focused. I asked him this morning, I said, Sebastian, do you think I'm going to win tomorrow? And he said, win what? I said, just put your head back into your phone. Now, one of the things I will tell you is that if I win tomorrow, I will have done it for under $500. I will have done it for the $140 impact fee, and I will have done it for 200 yard signs and for flyers. I chose deliberately not to go and try to invest a lot of money into this, because it seems to me that money buys a seat. And I see all these ads, I see all these different things going on. I see, people were looking to endorse me, people were looking to donate to me and everything. I did none of that. I am not an owned person. I'm not an owned politician. So it makes me very, very unique, in as much as the fact that I accepted no endorsements, I accepted no money, didn't ask for any money or help or endorsements. And so truly this will be seeing whether or not the town of Mount Pleasant and its people are paying attention to what's going on, because I believe that politicians should not be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions, billions of dollars, whatever, to get into office. I think that's not a very good thing. I think it's greatly affected our country.
If elected, what would you do exactly on day one as councilman?
Well, I would personally call the other 7 people, and I would thank them for running with me, because you have 7 other candidates, right, who really have made a difference. And even if it's just a difference in a couple of hundred people's lives that showed up at these different forums we had, you have 8, including myself, very unique individuals that have very different views of the town of Mount Pleasant and how it should progress and what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And at the end of each forum, when I'm allowed to wrap up, each candidate's allowed 60 seconds to wrap up and say something about themselves. Sure. I never wrapped up and said anything about myself. I actually asked for applause for the other 7 candidates that were sitting there, that took the time out of their day and that took the time out of their life to come in and do what is being done. So that would be the first thing I would do, is I would call the other 7 candidates, regardless if it's win or lose, and thank each one of them for the opportunity to serve them and the opportunity to serve the community. Then it's showtime. Showtime.
Well, what type of performance would you put on as far as town council member?
Well, one of the things that I did that I was told not to do was I gave everybody my personal cell number, and I was told by other political insiders that's really bad, because they'll call you at 3 a.m. and 7 at the other. I said, I sleep with my phone under my pillow, so most likely I'll take that call at 3 a.m. If it's important enough for them to call me at 3 a.m, I want to know why. So I think that being a steward of the community and of the town is where I'm really going to hit it home, and where people can feel connected to me, where you can reach out to me, and you're not being blocked, and people aren't standing in my way saying, oh, you can't talk to them, or you can't do this, that, or the other, and whatnot. I want to work through the issues that we have. I want to work with and through other people. I don't want to blast people out of the way that were in there before. We've all, including myself, run a very, very positive campaign for the town council seats, which I'm very, very pleased with. That already tells me that maybe the drama is going to secede or maybe disappear on the next town council. So I'm very excited to get to work.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen Becker, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, thank you very, very much. And I appreciate you having me on here, and I hope it's not the last time.
I'll be right here.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.